What's up, everybody? This is Greg with Advantage One Brokers, and this is the National Sales Training Call. Thank you so much for attending. And we're probably going to have still more people jumping in as this gets going. But what I'm going to do first off is I'm going to talk about the new live transfer leads that are coming out. These are just amazing in terms of their performance, in terms of their production. If some of you have been watching the podcast, what you'll see is I talked to Lance about these transfers this morning on the live podcast. So we are working with a company, a domestic-based company, that what they have done is they have made about 16,000 different landing pages, and they have them all across different cities across the United States, and they have them ranked. They put a lot of money into Google SEO to have them ranked as #1 on Google. And what that does essentially is that people go and search in, let's say, any random city that you want to pick off the top of your head, but that's the first website that comes up. They go in there, they're looking for some kind of final expenses or life insurance. They fill out their information. And then once they fill out their information, then they get forwarded over to a chatbot, where a chatbot goes through. It's almost like a person talking to them automatically. And it has, depending upon their answer, it has a different route that it goes. As long as they answer 100% of the questions, they will go ahead and get called by the call center. Once they're called by the call center is going to go ahead and verify all the information they've already put in, but also ask them additional information to make sure that they have a debit or that they have a bank account that's active and valid. Talk a little bit about their health. Make sure that they're looking for some coverage now. Make sure they're willing to talk to people today in order to get some protection in place. And they stay on the phone for them about 3 or 4 minutes. So this has been triple verified that they're looking for insurance. This is completely opt-in. So every other live transfer that's ever been done, if you ever look at them, those live transfers are done by using data lists, data scrubbed lists that are called in order to try to generate interest in order to transfer them over. And that's why typically live transfers are anywhere, for most companies, are anywhere between 20, 25, 30, upwards to $40 a piece. Because they're just paying for that data. They're paying for the means and the systems to scrub that data. And then they're paying usually overseas vendors, because it's super cheap to make a telesales center overseas, because you don't have to worry about laws within the United States to have to pay a specific amount. So these are triple verified. They're opt-in. They're verified by the website. They're verified by the chatbot, and they're verified by the caller. And then the caller transfers to you. The callers are high quality. The callers, just for everyone's reference, they're paid $32 an hour. These are not $16 an hour or $12 an hour employees, like basic employees. These people are paid very well, and they are hand selected because they're good at what they do. They're good on the phone. They generate interest. They build rapport. They talk up the agents that they're transferring to, and they make sure it's a very, very, very warm transfer. When you combine all those things together, what happens is you have such a high quality transfer that brand new agents coming in are easily closing 40 to 50%. Most of our agents now that are following the system, the Telesale system, and the training that we have, are closing around 70%. Lance himself, he's sitting at around 90% closing ratio. And most of the agents are sitting around 75 to 70% that are within the telesales arena. And so that's why these are a little more expensive. That's why these are $50 right now for the test. We're finishing up the test phase. They are $50 a piece for these transfers. And they are probably, we don't know what price they're going to go to when everything's said and done, because Advantage One Brokers is eating a huge cost in order to make them cheaper for the test, in order to test them out and make sure they're good. We are bringing them in as Advantage One Brokers leads that are unique and exclusive only to us, because they're that good. And because of the volume that they're bringing with so many websites, they generate over 20,000 new leads a day. So they can easily handle setting, pretty much getting as many transfers as we need. So This really is amazing news for those of you that understand how leads work and lead systems, and making sure that we have high quality leads, which we are always focused on that. We're focused on getting high quality leads that are the best for our agents, so that all the agents can succeed easily at the highest levels. And having Chase and his team get added to our family in order to provide the service to you is unbelievable. So we're very excited to announce that. And I think next thing is that what we want to do is, what I would like to do is, because this is going to become so big, and there's probably going to be a lot of people that want to go to telesales, is I'm going to talk about telesales, and I'm going to talk about my live transfer script and my telesales script. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the sections of the call. Okay. My script and my call, I've done this before on video. I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to break it down a little bit different, but mine's different than Lance's, and that's not a bad thing. Okay. I think Lance's is very good. It's very good for brand new agents that have never done telesales before, because it's simple, it's easy to learn, it's easy to follow. And combined with a high quality lead, you're going to be successful. I do my transfers a little bit differently because I've been on the phones a little bit longer, but that's fine. There's neither one is better or worse than the other. And what everyone needs to understand is that it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. So if you say it with confidence, if you practice your script, you say it with confidence, with belief, you're going to be 10 times better on the phone than if you say it, if you just grab the script for the first time and try to take live transfers. So I always recommend to people, say the script out loud a few times, record yourself saying the script out loud a few times, say it to somebody else on the phone a few times, get used to getting those words out of your mouth, because what you want to do is you want to say those words so many times that they become your words. I think that's the most important thing that most people just fail to do, because what I've heard countless agents say is, I don't like a script. Those aren't my words. It feels uncomfortable saying those. And my response to that is always, do you think that you're better than every single professional actor and actress out there? Because all they do at a very high level is they take a script that somebody else tells them to say, and they memorize those words and they become their words. They don't go to a director and say, these aren't really my words. I'm just going to go up there and ad lib it. It doesn't happen. So to be a professional, to be good at what you do, you got to start saying those words. You say them over and over again until they become your words, and they become so good, so ingrained, and you become so confident when you say it that it transfers, that confidence transfers through the phone, and it makes the client feel comfortable, because all there's no nonverbal communication in terms of body language. Okay. The only nonverbal communication you have is your tone of voice, is your tonality, is your pitch, is your volume, the tempo of your speech. Those are the things that you can control if you want to make sure that you want to catch their attention. But really, all you have are the words, is the actual verbal communication. And so knowing that, you got to be able to, that you're picking the right words. So with that being said, make sure that you are, pick a script, doesn't matter which one, just pick one, commit to it, go forward, do great things. Start saying it out loud. Say it out loud so many times that you get used to saying it. Okay. This doesn't take long. You could do this over 2 hours, 3 hours in a day. I promise you, if you say the script 30 times in 2 hours, you're going to feel real comfortable saying it. You record yourself a couple times saying it, you listen to it, and you say, doesn't sound good. I'm going to try it again. You're going to get real good saying it. This is not difficult. Okay. The more work you put into this, the better you will get. I promise you. Okay. If you expect to go out into the court and start shooting 3-pointers and you've never shot a basket, I promise you it's not going to happen. You're going to get lucky every once in a while, but you're not going to be good. You got to practice first. So how I break down, can you get a copy? Of course you can get a copy of my telesale script. It's already in the Slack. What I do is the first thing I do is I break down my one, just to understand, is I break down my call into different sections. Okay. I like to compartmentalize things because it makes sense in my mind. All right. The first section that I talk about is my introduction. And what I want to do, that's going to be the first 2 minutes of the call, because you have 2 minutes to verify that they're looking for insurance, that they're not kicking tires, because you don't want tire kickers. You don't want people that just want to quote. They can Google that. They can, like, we're not Geico. That doesn't put food on the table for us. Now, I can't say that on the phone because it comes off as abrupt, it comes off as aggressive, and they're going to hang up anyways. It's a lose-lose for everybody, right? You can't just say that. But what I can say is I can pick specific words that gets the point across that I'm going to be asking them a lot of questions, and they're going to give me those answers. And based on the answers they give me, I'm going to pick the best product for them. They're going to like it because I told them they're going to like it because I'm the professional. And then we're going to see if we can get them approved. Okay. And this is what it sounds like. This is what it sounds like. I'm going to pick one of y'all. Andrew Cogswell. Andrew. So I'm going to say, hey, Andrew, thanks for taking the call. Just to start off and just to introduce myself, my name is Greg, and I'm the advisor that's been assigned to help you out. Now, my job's real simple today, Andrew. I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and I'm going to get to know you, Andrew. And what I want to do is I want to find out a couple of things. A, I want to find out what you're looking for, what's most important to you. But B, what's most importantly is I want to see what you can be approved for. Now, I'm going to take those factors. I'm going to come up with a few options, and I'm going to show you those options. And any of those options, whichever of those options that you like the best, perfect. I'm going to be your advisor moving forward, and we're going to see if we can get you approved of something today. Is that fair? That's it. That is it. Okay. I don't talk about bank account. I don't talk about, their social security. I don't talk about getting sensitive information. I don't talk about that because they just got on the phone with me. If I start talking about that kind of stuff, I'm going to scare them off. I will. And you can't start talking about this stuff too early on a telephone call. It's easier to do that in the home. You can be a little bit more assumptive. And I call that aggressive assumptiveness. When you're aggressively assumptive in a home, for those of you that were in the home previously, that's fine. You can do that. And I get it. Okay. It's harder for someone to look at you and kick you out of a home because it's just weird to do it and it makes them uncomfortable. And 9 times out of 10 people don't want to be aggressive. But it's a lot harder, or it's a lot easier to do it on the phone because they can just hit hang up, block number, done. So that's why you don't want to do, you want to walk them through the process and stair step them through the sales process piece by piece by piece. So instead of thinking about it like this, think about it like you're trying to, the difference between, in the home, you would actually tell them the entire route that you're going to walk from start to finish at the very beginning to make sure that they understand that they're buying today. So you can literally be like, hey, we're going to go through this journey together. It's going to be 3.5 miles. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be hot, but at the end, you're going to love it. There's going to be beer at the end, but it's going to be great, but it's going to be kind of difficult throughout. It might make you uncomfortable. Is that okay? And they're going to be like, it's okay. If you do it on the phone, they're going to be like, no, I'm not interested, man. I'm just going to go watch Netflix. Okay. You can't do that. You can't do it on the phone. So what you're going to do instead is it's like, hey, man, there's something right around the corner over there. And you just talk them from corner to corner to corner to corner to corner to corner to corner, all the way to the end. And then at the end, now throughout, they're going to be like, man, it's really hot, man. So this is long, man. Blah, blah. But they've already taken so many steps. And the first steps are easy. And steps progressively get harder. However, because they've taken so many steps, the natural inclination is like, oh, we're almost done. I've already came this far. Let me just keep going. So there's a mentality behind that you're walking them through this process from start to finish, kind of keeping blinders on them. And you're not telling them everything. You're telling them just enough to let them know, like, hey, we're going to do this, but I'm not giving them everything. So when I tell you that my intro is that, my intro is that. And and the reason why I'm emphasizing this is because I've taught this to people and then they've tried to do it. And then I'm like, well, let me listen to your intro. Let me listen to this. And they're like, yeah, well, I went ahead and I added that I was going to go ahead and get some sensitive information, like their social and their bank account information in the beginning, blah, blah. And I'm like, I literally told you not to do that. And they still did it. And then when they fix it and they don't do it, world of difference. Because I'm telling you, I've tested all of these methods a lot. and I failed a lot. So I have the method that had worked the most for me after testing multiple different ways. And so the method I'm giving you is the way that works. Now I can sit here all day and I can tell you about the 50 different ways that I tried to do it and that I failed, but we'd be here all day, and that's a waste of time. So instead, just trust me when I tell you this is the way that works really, really well. So that's my intro. My intro is just, hey, I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to get to know you sometimes. And I don't use the same script every single time. Sometimes I say, hey, I'm going to get to know you real well. You're going to pick something that makes the most sense for you, and you're going to be stuck with me. I'm going to be your advisor for life. And then they usually laugh. And I'm like, no, seriously, I am. and they like that. But I inject a little bit of humor on the front end. But every single time it's a little bit different. And that's why, like, I don't always have the same script, but it's the same concept. So I introduce myself. I tell them we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to ask them questions. They're going to get to know them. I'm finding out what they're looking for, what's most important to them. I'm finding out, what's what they can be approved with based on their medical condition. And then I'm going to take all that information, and I'm going to show them the best policies that they can be approved with. They're just going to pick the one they like the best. And when they pick the one they like the best, we're going to see if we get you approved today. And then I ask the question, is that fair? The purpose behind the question, is that fair, is that it denotes that a business transaction is now taking place between me and the person on the phone. Because I'm literally breaking it down for them. I'm letting them know, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to ask this. You're going to do this. And because of that, I'm going to show you some options. You're going to pick the option. We're going to get you written out. This is my job. I'm going to get paid for it. You're going to get a policy. That's fair. This is a fair transaction that is taking place between us, because this is what you're looking for. Correct. And them saying yes is game on. They know everything that I just said. They understand. So I use the term, is that fair, a lot more than I use the term, what's it? It's on the tip of my tongue. Does that make sense? The term, does that make sense? The term, does that make sense, almost insinuates, especially when you ask a very simple question. If I were to say that same exact statement that I said, the 30-second intro. If I were to say that again, and I ended it with, does that make sense? That's insulting. That's insulting to pretty much anyone's human mind, because of course it makes sense. You just spoke English to me and you said a very simple statement. Yes, it makes sense. And that seems to be like a crutch that people use because of where we came from. And it's like, does that make sense? You don't have to say that with everything you say. That's like saying, hey, 1 + 1 = 2. Does that make sense? Well, yeah, no shit, it makes sense. I know how to do math, especially basic math. I learned that in first grade, in kindergarten. So yes, it makes sense. It's insulting. And they're not going to say it, but mentally, they're going to start putting up walls. And they're going to start closing you off, because they're going to be like, in my mind, I'm going to be like, does this guy even know who he's talking to? Does that make sense? Really? Now I'm thinking about that instead of paying attention to you and your pitch to me, because you asked me a dumb question. Does that make sense? So I would highly recommend to remove that from your vocabulary if you can't control it. The only time I say, does that make sense, is if I'm going over something that might be confusing to them. And I'm explaining a little bit more intricate details of policies. I don't say, does that make sense with every single thing that I say in order to get yeses, because that's a very weak way to sell. It's a very weak way to sell in order to get so many yeses leading up to the close, forcing them, making them feel like they have to get a yes. You don't have to do that. These policies sell themselves. They're looking for this, and they're looking for this kind of coverage. All you got to do is show some care and concern. Show that you genuinely care about taking care of them and their family, and you want to put them in the best position possible. And I promise you, they're going to pick whichever makes the most sense to them. And if they can't, they'll actually have a conversation with you on why. And then you can go over all these different methods, or you can go over if it's a price objection or whatever. You can go over, a budget, and you can work with them, and you can actually overcome those objections. But if you start closing off all these walls in their mind because you're saying, does that make sense? Guess what? It's not going to work. They're going to be closed off. So, is that fair? Stick with that one. It works a lot better. So that's my intro. Okay. Now that took what, 20 seconds, maybe 30. You have 2 minutes. Okay. If people get to the end of that and they say, yeah, that's fair, that's game on for me. I don't need to verify much more, because I know from the intro, when they transfer that call over to me, they're going to tell me a little bit about their medical. They're going to let me know that they have a bank account. They're going to let me know they're looking for some insurance. They're going to let me know their age, where they're located, all that stuff. I don't need to re-ask those questions. I don't. Some people do. I don't. It's a waste of time for me. I'd rather be on and off the phone real quick. The quicker I can get on, quicker I can sell, the quicker I can take another call. Okay. So I'm going to get to business. And so I'm going to ask that very simple question on the front end, and then I move on. My next question, my next segment of the sales process is all the client fact finding. Some people would call this the client worksheet. Some people will call this the financial inventory form. I call it the fact finding. I call it the client discovery. Okay. And what's most important to me is the client's why. And so the first thing that I ask them is, hey, what motivated you to take the time to look for this kind of protection? Because these are opt-in. They did opt in. They were looking online. They were looking on Google. They fill out their information. They took this call, but there's something that motivated them. And so all of my questions start with what and how. Okay. I never ask questions that start with why, and I do not ask questions that are yes or no, because I want the client to talk. I want to hear their words. So I'm going to ask them, hey, what motivated you to look for this kind of coverage? And then I'm going to let them tell me. Now, a lot of you may have heard another form of this question, which is, hey, most times when I sit with my clients, they're looking for coverage for one of 3 reasons. Either they don't have anything in place, they want to supplement what they have, or they want to leave a legacy behind, blah, 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 blah. I don't do that, because that's me telling them 3 different reasons, and I want to hear their words. I want them to explain it with their own words, what they're looking for, without me having to tell them. So I don't give them 3 options. I just simply ask, what motivated you to start looking for this kind of coverage? And they'll tell me. Well, and what a typical answer is going to be, yeah, I'm just looking to get some burial coverage. If they're going to get, almost all times, it's almost 50-50 split between people that are they're short and they're not talking much, and people that just vomit information and just diarrhea of the mouth, telling you everything about their story, just everything. You could ask that one question and they give you everything. Don't keep asking questions because they answered all of them. Just move on. So if when they ask me, or when they say, hey, I'm just looking for some burial coverage, I'll say, perfect. And I'll ask the next question I always ask, how long have you been looking for this kind of coverage? I want a time frame. And if they say, oh, I've been looking for a little while, I'll say, oh, a little while? And there's silence. And I don't say anything, because the next person that speaks loses. And it's uncomfortable for them. Just as much as it's uncomfortable for you, it's uncomfortable for them too. And this is where you start to master conversation. And you can control conversation. Because I want them to give me a time frame. A little while is what? 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year? Depends. Well, when you're 65 years old, a year may be a little while. For me, looking for something for a year, that's a long time. But I want to know the specific time frame. So if they give you just a little while, dig in. And so what I just did is called mirroring. That's verbal mirroring. I literally took the last 3 words they said, and I repeated those words to them in a downward tone, almost an inquisitive tone, which makes them feel like they have to elaborate on what they just told me without me telling them to elaborate. It's a very simple tool to use. It works all the time, but it's very effective. So I'm waiting for them to say, hey, it's been 6 months. Perfect. Now, the reason that I want a specific time frame, the reason is because at this point, I'm going to say, Andrew, what happened 6 months ago that got you looking? And this is the question that really drives home the why. This is it. Because if they're closed off and they don't talk much, they're gonna tell you their whole life story. They're gonna be like, well, so-and-so passed away, they didn't have coverage, and there was this, and then we had to do a GoFundMe, and me and my brother and sisters got together, and we all had to pitch in $1,000, but then my brother gypped me, and I had to pay him $2,000, and my sister couldn't afford it, and I was just like, man, I cannot do this. I went to my savings account, and blah, 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 and my kids, and blah, 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 and like, I can't do this to my kids. And that's what happens. Now, I could have just said, hey, have you experienced somebody passing away recently that got you looking? Yeah, but then that's a yes or no question. And they'll just say yes. And they might tell me some of that, they might not. So that's why I ask what and how questions, because they talk. And the more times you do it over and over again, the more times these clients open up and they start talking. Now, here's why the why is so important, okay? Here's why the why is so important is because, thank you, Jeremy, is because if you look at a cross-section of the human mind or the human brain from the top down, is it's broken up into 3 sections, okay? The outside section of the human brain is called the neocortex, or our new brain, our Homo sapien brain, okay? It corresponds with all of our rational and analytical thought. It also corresponds with our language, okay? Now, the inner 2 circles of our brain is called our limbic brain. Our limbic brain corresponds with all of our behaviors, all of our feelings, okay? It drives decision-making. It drives things like loyalty. It drives things like purchase. It's our why. It's what we believe in, but it has no capacity for feelings, no capacity. That's why a lot of times people, when you talk to people and you give them all these facts and figures and you talk to them, you're like, hey, here's this perfect product. It does this and this and this. And also you get your money back and all this, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you know what? This is great. But you know what? I understand all these facts and figures, but it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel right. Why do they use that verb? It doesn't feel right. They use that verb because the part of the brain that controls emotion, the part of the brain that controls behavior, decision-making, loyalty, has no capacity for language. So that's the best that they can muster up. But if you start with someone's why, if you start with an emotion, okay, and you start with that emotion, and then you work outwards. So start from the inside of the brain and work outwards. What you do is you tap into exactly the part of the brain that controls decision-making, and then you back it up with logic. You back it up with facts. You back it up with figures. And now people buy what you do. They don't buy, people don't buy what you do. People buy why you do it. The what you do simply serves as the proof of what you believe. So you have to get, if you're not tapping into people's whys in appointments, that's why you're not making sales. And that's why I structured my appointments. And that's how I close at such a high level. And I'm not doing anything special. I'm not. I'm asking those 3 simple questions, and I do it just like this. And I talk to them just like this, like I care, because I do. And I let them talk. And after they told me what happened so long ago, 6 months ago, what got them looking, what happened 6 months ago that got you looking, Andrew? I listen and I wait and I empathize and I say, man, that's powerful, Andrew. Thank you for sharing that. It sounds like that was really rough. So thank you for sharing that. And it sounds like you don't want the same thing to happen to your kids the day you pass away. That's admirable. Thank you. Now I go into more questions. Hey, now I'm out of the why. Now I'm looking for their no-fly zones. I'm looking for what they don't want. I'm looking for things that'll make them say no. Okay. And this is what I do is I tell them, I say, what's prevented you from getting this coverage before in the past 6 months? Now, I'm not saying, notice I don't say, Andrew, why didn't you get this coverage before in the past? Those are the same questions. I'm asking the same question, but when I say, why didn't you do this? That's kind of accusatory. And it kind of like pointing the finger at him like, dude, why haven't you done this? You've been looking for 6 months. You said you didn't want your kids. What if you pass away tomorrow? Why haven't you done this? That's accusatory, and that's going to be insulting to him. So instead, I'm going to say, Andrew, what is it that's prevented you? So now I'm like pointing at something else that's like an unnamed third party something in the off in the distance that is keeping him from doing it. It's not him. It's this. So what is it what's prevented you from doing this, Andrew? And he's like, well, and usually there'll be something that he's going over. It could be, this is where he's giving his price objections. This is where he's telling me he's been looking for a while, and he's got all these people have given him these price quotes, and they didn't match. Or maybe because he just had a heart attack a few years ago, and he didn't think he could be covered with anything. And so he's afraid to even look because people don't like rejection. People don't like that. People don't like being told no. So they're going to be like, man, I need this. Man, I'm going to be told no anyways. And so they won't do it. And it knocks us into apathy. And so understanding like how people are as a whole, like really understanding how you are as well, being very introspective in order to be retrospective, that's going to help you to analyze when people do certain things. And so I'm going to find out where his no-fly zone is. It's very easy. He was going to tell me why he hasn't gotten this yet. And there's going to be a reason, and he's going to tell me. And that really is the reason. He said, if he's sat with other agents, which I'm going to find out and say, what other agents have you talked to? What other agents have you talked to? Well, I talked to the agent from here, I talked to a State Farm agent. I talked to my agent that my family's known forever. I had an agent come by my house. Oh, okay. And what prevented you from working with them? Well, the agent came by my house, his stuff was just too darn expensive. Or he was really pushy. He kept trying to get me to do this one product over and over again, and it just didn't make sense for me. Oh, okay. I'm not going to agree or disagree. See, the point of empathy, is to take an inventory of everything that someone tells you. I don't have to agree, nor do I disagree. I just take an inventory of it and I repeat it to them as I understand it. Empathy is a very powerful tool. People, when you show empathy, feel understood and feel heard. And understood and heard people, you know what they do? They listen. They feel appreciated. Everybody wants to be understood. Everybody wants to be heard. And that's what most agents don't do. That's what most agencies don't teach. They teach you to go in, tell them, turn off the TV. Let me go ahead and tell you what's going to happen. Boom, 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 boom. Aggressive. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. They don't teach you how to be empathetic. They don't teach you how to actually talk to clients and listen to them. This entire first section of the appointment, and by the way, you can do this in appointments. You can do this on live transfers. You can do this on Zoom appointments. You can do this in mortgage protection. You can use this technique at any time. I use this for live transfers. I've also used this in the home, exactly like this. But this first section of the appointment, it should be 70% them talking, 30% you talking. If you're talking more than that, you're talking too much. because a person that talks the most loses, and the person that talks the least is able to control the conversation to where they want it to go. So you got to make sure that you give them the time to talk and you listen to them, because they're going to tell you exactly what they're looking for. They're going to let you know what they can be approved for, and they're going to let you know what they don't want. And that's important to understand. You have to understand what they don't want. And so once I've gotten through, I've asked those 5 questions. Hey, what motivated you to start looking for this kind of coverage? How long have you been looking for this kind of coverage? How long have you been looking? What happened X amount of time ago that got you looking? What other agents have you talked to? If you notice, I'm saying what other agents. I'm not saying, have you talked to other agents? I'm being assumptive. So you can be assumptive, okay? I'm assuming they talked to somebody else. That's not wrong. You can be assumptive without being aggressive. But I'm assuming they talked to somebody else. If they haven't, they'll say, I haven't talked to anyone else. Because if I say, have you talked to somebody else? Yes. Well, who have you talked to? I got to do 2 questions when I could do 1. Well, don't waste time. Be concise. Pick it up. You can be a little assumptive. What other agents have you talked to? What prevented you from working with those agents? What's prevented you from getting this kind of coverage before in the past? So I'm asking those 6 questions. Okay. Now that I've asked those questions, I got a pretty good idea of what they're looking for. Now I'm going to go into like the actual finances of it. Okay. I'm going to ask about if they have a mortgage, what their mortgage amount is. If not, how much they pay for rent, how much they pull in. If they're married, what I'm going to say is, like, if it's for their wife or their spouse or their husband or whatever, hey, if you passed away tomorrow, how much income is your significant other going to lose each month? I want them to think about how much they make, because all I'm asking is, how much do you make? How much do you make each month? But I want them to think about it in terms of loss, because they pass away tomorrow, income's gone. Most people don't think about that. They don't think about it in that sense. So if you passed away tomorrow, hey, Andrew, tomorrow you wake up, or tomorrow you don't even wake up, okay? How much income is Ashley losing every single month? And most of them, they're like, oh man, wow. I guess about $3,000, $4,000 a month. Perfect. That is so much more of a natural question to ask than to ask them, how much do you make each month? How much do you bring home? Because a lot of people will get like weird, like, well, why do you got to know that? This prevents that. Because that seems like a natural question to ask. Well, I want to know how much you're losing because I need to know what to protect. Okay. Then I'm going to ask, hey, same question. You pass away tomorrow. How much money is going to get paid out to Ashley? And I'm talking anything. I'm talking stocks, bonds, IRAs, cash in the mattress, personal life insurance policies, whatever. What do you got? What's getting paid out tomorrow? And I take an inventory of it. And I'm writing everything down. I literally have, no joke, I have a pad of paper at my desk at all times. And I'm literally writing down all these notes, and I'm writing down everything. I'm like, boom, 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 boom. And I'm going to close off here in a second, right when I get to the closing, and then we'll open it for questions. But then I go into the medical questions, and I keep medical simple. And here's why: because they're going to go through all these medical questions on the application anyways. I'm looking for specific things that might knock them out of an application. So I'm going to ask them, in the past 7 years, have you had any major conditions? I'm talking heart attack, stroke, cancer, diabetes requiring insulin, COPD, anything like that, anything major, HIV, AIDS. They say no, golden. I'm not going to go through every single condition on a piece of paper. I'm just going to ask a once over. Then I would say, what about small stuff? What about high blood pressure, hypothyroidism, diabetes just with pills? What about stuff like that? And I'm like, well, I have some high blood pressure. Okay. What else? What else? What else? And I keep saying what else after they tell me, until they like, nope, that's it. Okay. High blood pressure. How many pills do you take? 2. Perfect. I don't care about the name of the pills. I don't. Diabetes, how many pills do you take? I take 2. Okay, perfect. This, how many pills do you take? Take 1. Okay, perfect. I don't care about the names because I'm not going to type them in anyways, because it's just going to be a medical check of the MIB anyways. And I'm going to ask them questions on the application. So I'm trying to get through to make sure, can I get them approved this company or can I not? Okay. Once I've gotten all that information, that is the sales process. Okay. The sales process is different than the closing process. The closing process is that's when I'm taking over and I'm actually telling them what we're going to do. Okay. So the sales process is going to be those questions. I'm digging in. It's mostly them talking. And then when I end it, when I get done with those questions, I'm going to do something very simple. I'm going to say, hey, Andrew, thank you so much for sharing all that information with me. I'm going to review it and make sure that I completely understand it. If I miss anything, you let me know. Is that fair? Yep. Perfect. Hey, Andrew, it seems to me that the reason you started looking is because 6 months ago, your mom passed away and she didn't have any coverage in place. And they put you and your brothers and sister into a little bit of dire straits. And so you went to a GoFundMe in order to bury her, but you guys didn't get much money. And each of you had to come out of pocket $1,000. Now, your brother gypped and he couldn't do it. And it fell to you as the oldest. And you had to pay $2,000 out of pocket in this money that you didn't have. And it puts you into a bad place. And while that happened, all you could think about was your kids. All you could think about was your kids and making sure that they were taken care of. So you got you looking. And you've been looking for about 6 months and you've talked to some people, but everyone keeps showing you these options that don't really make sense for you. And they're a little bit too expensive. And you're trying to get something in place now before some kind of health condition makes it to where you can't be approved or it rises your premiums beyond anything you can afford. Is that all about right, Andrew? And I'm looking for him to say, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I'll say, perfect. I don't want him to say yes. I don't want him to say, yeah. I want him to say, yeah, that's right. That's right. Because at that point, because I've taken the time to listen. What I did was I took all those notes and I retold his story, but through my words. And I did it with such a way that I let him know, like, I understand you. I understand you, Andrew. I'm listening and I understand. And that is the most powerful thing you can do verbally with anybody, because empathy is so intrinsically like within our human DNA and our nature and our culture to be appreciative of, that they're going to now reciprocate. And they're going to do the same thing for you. They now feel obliged to listen to you and understand you because you just did it for them. And that's the purpose of this. It's to have them reciprocate. And reciprocity is a powerful tool in sales. It's a powerful tool. It's very underutilized because people don't know how to use it. But this is how you do it. This is how you use reciprocity to your benefit. Because now when you want to give them the facts and figures and you want to tell them what's the best option, you want to give them the best route forward, they're actually going to listen and they're going to take it. And they're going to be like, man, you're so right. You're so right. Because nobody does this. And when it comes down to final note, when it comes down to actually showing them some options, I don't give them every single company, all these different companies and all these different options. I pick one company, one product, 2 options. That's it. Every single time. People get paralysis by analysis. Think about it like this. If you were to go to a doctor's office and a doctor's like, man, yeah, Bethany, you have your blood pressure has spiked since the last time I seen you. it's actually gotten pretty bad. I'm going to put you on some high blood pressure medication. Now, I can put you on some amlodipine, some lisinopril, some metoprolol, or I can even put you on some Eliquis. Which one do you want? Are you going to know which one to pick? Every single one of us in that scenario is going to be like, I don't know which one's which. Well, this one does this, and this one does this, and and this one has side effects of this. Well, what's the side effects of all of them? Oh, well, and then you're going to be like, well, I don't know. Let me go do some research, and you're not going to choose one. You're not going to choose one. So what does the doctor do? Hey, I'm putting you on some amlodipine, this amount of like 10 milligrams. Here you go. And you're like, yep, Roger. And you take that prescription slip and you take the medication, don't you? Because they're the professional and they selected. They could have picked any one of those medications, but they picked that one for you. And you take it. Now, if you went to another doctor, they may have given you another one. But do you go to another doctor to find out what they would have given you? No, you just take that one. So stop giving all these different options. Stop giving massive amount of options to people, because then they're going to think about it. Then they're going to do their research. Then they're going to talk to other people. Hey, this is the best option for you. And here's why. Because I said so. Because I'm the professional. Because I have all these different options and I know what all of them do. And based on what you're looking for, this is the best. Now, you can get the full coverage or you can do the minimum amount just to bury you. What would you prefer? Done. You have to be confident and you have to know your products. You're not going to know your products by waiting for your upline to tell you. You know how you're going to know your products? By going to the carrier when you get contracted with the carrier and talking to them. They are the experts. They are the experts of their products, and they literally live to teach agents to sell their products because they want you to sell their products because it makes them money. So they have whole staffs of people that are experts of all their products that are willing to tell you, and it's ground truth. It's 100% correct. So I implore all of you, go to the carriers. Go to the carriers and understand every single thing that you have. It's going to pay you dividends beyond anything that you know. That's what I did. That's how I know so much about the carriers. Because I went to them and I had conversations with them and I took notes. I taught myself. I didn't rely on anybody else. So I'm going to stop it there because I've been talking for 45, almost 50 minutes. That is the first portion. That is the sales portion, the sales funnel, you could say, of my script. Okay. That ends right before I do into my closing, where I go over which product I picked. I have them pick a specific amount, and then I do an application. Okay. The closing is separate. That is a separate type of training than the sales process. Those are two types of training. Okay. A lot of people make mistakes. A lot of salespeople make mistakes because they try to combine those into the same thing. They're not the same. Those are two different processes. Okay. So you got to be ready. You got to understand and put yourself in the right mindset when you go to close. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to go and type them now. I'm going to go through the chat really quickly, and I'm going to start going through great stuff. It says, science lesson, learn a bunch. Yes, sir. Craig, I put it in the Slack general channel. This was months ago that I put it in. This is like back in August, so I don't really remember. But I believe it is pinned in there. I do mainly Cindy. I have not been able to sell. I actually kind of miss it right now. I spend all day taking calls from agents. And some of you probably realize that because some of you probably call me on a daily basis or every other day or every other week. But I spend all day on the phone, either helping agents from other IMOs come over still, because we still have a lot of people that come over, or helping you guys because you have questions or issues. I'm trying to solve problems and put out fires. I don't have any time. And also I'm recording podcasts. I'm editing myself. I'm posting myself. I'm helping with the social media. Like, I'm trying to do so much. I don't have time to sell right now. I want to really bad, but I don't have time. So when everything kind of calms down and everyone gets the right numbers in, and everyone's got leads and everyone's happy and everyone's selling, I'm going to go back out there and I'm going to go help some families because I want to keep my edge razor sharp, and I want to be able to continue to train. And I can't continue to do that if I get out of the field for too long, because then I don't have the skills necessary, or I'm letting them rust and get bad. So I will continue to sell. Yes. Where can I find a recording of this training? This training has been recorded. It's going to go posted onto the Slack. All videos on that we record for training, they're all put into the training dash videos in the Slack. If you don't have access to the training dash videos, it's very simple. There is a tab that says add channel. You click on that and you're going to see a list of every single channel. There's like 30 channels in our Slack right now. If you don't have access to all of them, go hit add channel and you will see the list of all of them. And you can just literally click it and get right in. Okay. So make sure, also do me a favor, spread, if this was powerful to you, if this was something that was value to you, share it. Send this out to everybody. Tell people about it. Tell people how to get to the Slack, like I just told you. Help each other. Help other agents. Even if they're not in your downline, it doesn't matter. We all serve each other. We all grow together. Okay. So I want you to go ahead and help everybody. Paint the picture messages while it's in. This is excellent conversation control. Not much questions. Not much. Where can I find script? Already talked about that. Stream valuable. Okay, so if you're looking to get live transfers, you're looking at contract live transfers, talk with your upline, okay? Because we're taking on people at a time because we're slowly ramping it up. It will be enough to be like anyone that wants to do live transfers, they're going to be able to do it. But we're ramping up right now. So go get with your upline. They're going to feed you into that live transfer center that we're doing. And then when they feed you into it, okay, you're going to go ahead and you're going to follow the instructions that are inside. There's a private group in the Slack for the live transfers. Okay. And there's instructions in there on how to get access to the actual CRM. It's a different CRM that we're using for the live transfers. It's not the Vici Dollar. It's not the old stuff. We got a new one. Okay. So you'll get funneled in there. There'll be instructions on how to create that, and you'll create that. Now, here's the thing with the live transfers is that we hold everybody accountable. And we do that by making sure that you go to every single meeting that the live transfer group goes to. They go to a meeting in the morning and they go to a meeting in the evening before the live transfers start and when the live transfers end. If you cannot commit to that, you're not doing live transfers. And it's that simple. Because these are high quality and they're expensive. We do not want you to waste your money on these. We don't want you to get in and then halfway through have questions because you didn't go to the meetings. We're not going to do a disservice to you. So if you can't commit to a time frame to say, hey, I can do live, and you don't have to do it every day, only the day that you do live transfers. And if you're committing to do live transfers a day, you need to commit for the day. It's like going to a 9-to-5 job. It's not that hard. But you're going to be taking live transfers. You're going to be making money. It's not that bad. Come on. All right. Thank you, Red, for training, recording, closing process. Absolutely great. Can you please post your details on the credible? I redid my file expense for based on the second single person, the beneficiary is not losing income. How do you word that? Okay, so if you're talking with a single person that doesn't have, like, they don't have anyone that lives with them, at that point, I just go ahead and say, hey, how much do you make each month? How much do you bring home? Because it doesn't matter how much, there's no one that's losing income. Okay. But I will ask, how much is so-and-so, whoever the beneficiary is, let's say it's a child, grandchild, whatever, how much is so-and-so going to get the day you pass away? That's savings, stocks, bonds, cash in the mattress, blah, blah, blah. Like what the same thing I always say. I do still say that. So makes sense. The permanent requirement are the live transfers. Right now, the live transfers are final expense only, but we are actually the same exact company. These guys are legit. They can actually do mortgage protection live transfers, and they're working on them right now. I've actually seen them. I've seen the mortgage protection bots. I helped them actually create some of the mortgage protection bots and the questions that they ask. It's legit. It's really legit. So I'm excited. I'm excited about this company, like the places we're going to go with them. Can we get a copy of your Tesla script? Talked about. Hey, Greg, when is the video will be available to watch? I'll be watching. Won't be able to watch the rest of it. Thank you. It should be. It usually hits the Slack the next day. So I'll tell Wesley tonight to get it into the Slack as soon as possible because we're all going to Vegas tomorrow for the manager retreat. But I'll make sure it gets in there, Gina. Jeff Kumar, Greg, if you're talking with a single person, I already answered that. What are the top carriers for live transfers? Last question. Ryan, don't think about top carriers. I don't pick a carrier before I go into it. I only worry about what's most important to them, what they can be approved with, and what they're looking for. I've on live transfers, even on a final expense live transfer, I've done smart ULs. I've done universal life policies. I've done mortgage protection policies. And I've done final expense policies. It depends. I do not use insurance toolkit. I know enough about each insurance carrier that I have to be dangerous. And I know which one I'm going. I don't quote a bunch of tools. I don't like doing that. I think that's a crutch that people use or agents use to try to just find the cheapest one. And I don't like that. I don't sell off of price. I sell off of value. I sell off of what's going to work for the client. So, you do have to be licensed in multiple states. So now if you're looking at like what's a really good top carrier for live transfer, I'll like honestly American Amicable because it's really for the ease of use because their voice signature is unparalleled. I love the final expense policy on American Amicable and the voice signature. It's stupid fun. It's easy. There's no issues, especially when we're dealing with really old people and trying to talk them through email. Here's the other thing. There's a lot of back-end stuff that you've got to understand when it comes to doing live transfers or even telesales is that when you sit with somebody that's in their 60s or older and you've got to talk them through an email signature, you have to be very patient and you have to be very slow. And you have to articulate exactly what they're going to see. And if you don't know what it looks like, you need to put yourself through that scenario. And almost every single carrier has a test application that you can do so you can see it. If you don't know what it looks like, you're not going to be able to talk them through it. So you have to be able to do that. But AMAM's voice signature is amazing. I love it. But I like all the companies have great products and like LBL, their product, like, yeah, you can call up and you can do it all over the phone, but you do a little bit of front work and then you let them take over. And here's the thing. A lot of people like, well, it's a little bit of a hassle. Here's my thing is that they're so specific on the phone. These people know exactly what they're getting. They know exactly what they're getting. And with all the things they have to read through on all the disclaimers and all that, that person's never canceling that policy, man. Like, why would they want to go through that again? You know what I'm saying? Like think about it like that, like it's another way to build value. And so I don't go into any live transfer thinking I'm just going to do this carrier, this carrier's product. I listen and as I'm listening to them and I'm taking everything into account, their age, their health, what they're looking for, what their budget is. I'm calculating what I think the best policy is. And then I just execute, I choose and I execute and I move forward. Am I always right? No, but I still go forward with confidence. And it's still the one that I feel is the best. Now, my opinion might be different than your opinion, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you'll be able to make that opinion much easier if you understand the carriers and the products that you have in your toolkit. And if you do that, I promise you, you're going to make massive, massive sales. So, I hope that answered your question, Ryan. What are the top 10 states to be licensed in? I like southern states, Milton. It all depends on you, man. You pick some states. I like to pick large states, and I'm going to answer the whole states question. Okay. I would recommend having 10 states before you do live transfers. That doesn't mean you have to. You can start live transfers before. Here's the thing. When you do live transfers, what's going to happen is that they're going to send it to whatever state they have. You're going to get it, period. Okay. So what you want to do is about 45 of the states, okay, they will approve almost same day, or if not within 24 hours, they will approve your application for a non-resident license. Okay. So this is what you do. The states that do not approve right away are Washington State, California, Georgia, and Florida. And then we don't do New York because New York sucks, just by the way. So you guys know. So all those states take extra, some kind of extra something, either extra fingerprints. Georgia takes some paperwork that you got to get signed and notarized and sent in before they approve. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have those kind of states already locked out and done, because you don't want that time frame from the time that you apply for something to take too long. So if you have, let's say that I don't have Tennessee as a state and I get a Tennessee applicant or a live transfer, I'm going to take that call and I'm going to run it just like I do to have Tennessee. And if I make a sale, if I close that call and I do an application, I'm going to do the entire application all the way to the very, very end. After their signature, every single application has a submit button. I'm not going to submit that bad boy until I've gone on Nipper and I've applied for Tennessee, and Tennessee come back and say, hey, you're approved. Sometimes it comes in within an hour. What I usually do, because I have in my, like right here, I'm sitting at my desk in my office. I have 2 screens right here, is while I'm sitting there talking to them on the live transfer and I have their application up, I have another window up on Nipper when I'm like, oh, I'm making this sale, and I'm pulling up Nipper and I'm filling it out at the same exact time. So I've usually got that shot off before I even got the application done. As soon, what happens is that I usually, this is me, and it's worked every single time. Because when I started doing live transfers, I had like 6 states, and I have like 35 now. So what I started to do is I would actually just, as soon as I sent the Nipper, I just hit submit, because I didn't care. Because here's what happens: no company, even like instant issue companies, they still take time to process it. That's why you still don't get paid for like 2 days after, because they have to look at it the following business day. They look at all applications from the previous day, the following business day. And then when they're looking at it, if they see that you are not licensed on NIP, or if they see that they don't have it, because they have a record of all the licenses or all the places that you're licensed in, if they see that you're not licensed in that state through them, then they're going to send out a notification to Nipper, and they're going to wait for Nipper to come back and tell them. And that takes about 24 hours. And when it comes back, it says, yes, by this time, it's already been approved. And they're like, okay, good to go. Bada bing, bada boom, done. It's worked every time for me. I did it with probably 20 states now, and not once has it failed me. Now, does it mean that it won't fail you? Not saying that, but it hasn't failed me. So if you don't have the states, that's fine. Take the calls. Okay. I would get the ones I was talking about: California, Washington, Florida, Georgia. Get those. Make sure you have those, because it takes a long time, because you're not going to be able to do that process I just talked about, because the process for them to get approved takes too long. So yes, think of it as getting gems in the Infinity Gauntlet. I like that, Keenan. You are a dope ass dude, bro. I like you. Yep. Okay. So that seems like it. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for taking part and listening to me rant on for the past hour on the National Sales Training Call. If you guys have any questions, please feel free. Here's the thing: is that I get calls and I get texts all the time. If I don't hear from you, and if you need help and I don't hear from you, guess what? I'm going to assume that you don't need my help. Okay. I don't have the time to reach out to every single person and be like, hey, do you need my help? Hey, do you need my help? It's just not feasible. But if you reach out to me, ask anybody that calls me, I do call you back the same day. I'm going to reach back out to you same day within a 24-hour period. Even if I don't answer the phone right then. But if I'm not talking to somebody, I'm answering the phone every single time. I'm here to help every single one of you. I don't care who your upline is. I don't care what part of ADV1 you are. I'm always going to help. So please reach out to me if you need anything. If there's something that you're questioning or need help with, that's what we're here for. Okay. Let's win this.